So, greetings. Wirecast is cooperating tonight, although hasn't reloaded on my copy of the screen. Oh wow, that's about a minute delay on my own system. Pretty wild. Alright. Well, greetings, AGB 9854007. Saw her last night in Cedar Rapids? Really? Yeah, I've liked her for years. She's funny as all. She's a YouTuber. She can play the hell out of the violin. She can dance. She can write. I'd love to see her, especially at Christmas. Wait a second, Richard. You were watching Lindsey Sterling instead of being on the charts? Shame on you. Callie. Trading Cat giving me a hard time today. Sorry if you hear me drinking. I'm so thirsty. Alright. So, first timers, welcome. Going to put this up. I'm going to ask you to take a screenshot, if you will, of the slide as it refreshes on your screen that says stay connected. So, oops. So we have a group called iMarkets Live Scans, Forks, and Fibos. It is a Facebook group. Take a screenshot. If you're brand new to the session live and or brand new to the session period or the channel, there is a free Pitchfork course for you with the actual correct password on here. I'm going to say hello to him. I'm going to say hello. He's going to purr. He's just going to purr. She doesn't want to talk. She screeches like a screech owl. She doesn't meow. So, there's a free position sizing calculator and more at fxtraderscalculator.com. I will put this up at the end. Please don't ask questions about it during the session. Trading Cat says London session, pound yen, 500 pips. Of course, Trading Cat's old paradigm. Trading Cat says hello. All right. So tonight, we've had a lot of stuff over the past couple weeks. We've had big progress. For those folks that are brand new, I'd recommend going through the Pitchfork course if you want to be this long haul that we've been through over the last 60, 90 days. And get up to speed there. There are a number of pinned posts. Rewind that tape. There are a number of videos in the pinned posts to get you started, why you might want to consider using pitchforks, risk reward, the difference between the old paradigm, which everybody else is pretty much participating in, and the new paradigm. And it's here, here, here that you get that new paradigm. Customer. I love it. Our customer. 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 So, um, we've had in the last month or so Quickfire, Charlie Delta, um, we've learned some of the intricacies of what a scan is and is not. So there's plenty of things to keep you busy on charts and continuing to learn. So we're winding down the year here in that next week, after that, I'm on vacay. And so, time to get it straightened out so you can perfect it here the last part of the month and hit 2018 running. So tonight, I thought I would take questions. I've got 5 open internet lines. We'll take them as they come. Callie says she'll do her best to answer. So this is the time to get the more complex questions out of the way. Trading, scans, pitchforks, Charlie Delta, X-ray Alpha, best fit, before scan. Oh, quit clawing at me. She wants me to keep petting her. Yeah, I know. You want that headset off. You don't want me talking to these other people. You want me just talking to you. She's very jealous of the headset. So, questions. Oh, no questions. We can call it a night. That's fine. Well, we introduced. She just flopped and threw my picture over, and there's a chart underneath. Callie, stop! Money management, we have covered before. I don't think those recordings are long gone, and it hasn't been updated yet in the master file that I'm working on, for which I want to do a video for, an FAQ video to tack on the pitchfork class. Um, So lots of things to learn. So for you guys that are newer, I will say this: we spend I spend a considerable amount of time on the head game. It's one of the things that kills you in the old paradigm. If you're new, you don't even know what the head game is yet. That's okay. You'll grow into it. But I spend a lot of time there because it is the sink or swim reality of trading. We've got previous sessions which talk about the head game. Head game comes from volume of demo trades. It'll bite you when you're live trading too. So, no, I don't do live trading because it's against the law for me to do so in the United States. I'm not a licensed investment advisor, so I cannot do live trading. and you wouldn't be able to keep up anyway because the head game isn't there. You don't learn from watching, you learn by doing. So we teach, you do, we correct in the group when you post there, and now you learn what not to do and become a successful trader. You don't learn to be a successful trader by learning what to do. You learn how to become a successful trader by learning what not to do, which is why A, you cannot learn on your own, and B, you can't learn from just watching. You have to go and do. I've been trading over 14 years. I got into trading to get out of the Fortune 500 world, make the same money but with less hours. So, you've got a bunch of questions here about money management. Um, Depends on what you're doing. If you're entering a quick fire trade, if you're entering a Charlie Delta trade, for quick fire in the quick fire training, which is a video in our pin post at the group, we have money management there. Quick fire basic, you're going for 10 pips. That's your money management. Um, you grow from that and you go to quick fire 15% and you go to that. After you grow with the quickfire 15% and you're successful there, then you go to quickfire Hall using the Hall moving average. After that, you have options. You can just stay with that. You can move your Hall up to another higher level chart. So after I've gone 30, 40, 50 pips with my Hall 15, I'd move over to a 30-minute chart and put the Hall on there. You can use the scan Fibos as target 1, target 2, TP1, TP2, TP3 is painted on the scan. If you're in a pitchfork, you can also go to the median with the 80% rule. Guys have to get out of the mindset of FOMO. This is what demo trading is all about. Demo trading is so you find, of the available money management schemes, which one suits you best. But I would work through them as we've highlighted them in the training. Start getting 10 pips. Start doing that successfully. As you're taking your 10 pips, you also watch what the 15% line is doing. You're watching the length of the CD. Nope, the Hall is scaled like everything else is scaled. It'll work on 1 minute to 1 day. It's just as you move up in profit, you allow bigger swings because that'll give you farther progress. The size of the scale and the scale of the waves are opening up. So you have to allow bigger pullback in order to have bigger pips. That's part of Elliott wave reality. So once you're in a 15-minute scan and it's moving successfully and you're getting up in pips, you could always move to the 30-minute scan, 30-minute chart with the 30-minute Hall. I'm not sure what a personal success story is in terms of trading. Any trade that you make money at or learn from is a successful trade. The only time the pitchfork median 80% rule exists is from the D in the Charlie Delta, or whichever swing if you're not doing a Charlie Delta or a scan based fork. whichever swing entered the chart, entered the trade, entered the pitchfork, that is the only move that's 80%. All the rest of them are high probability bounces, but there's nothing else that has the 80% attached to it. Boop, boop, boop. Did I miss anything, Zoe? My goal for 2018 as a coach and the IML education we've been progressing towards. What's my vision? My vision is to create as many multiple six-figure traders as I can this year, to identify those who are on the same page with me in terms of mindset, and to isolate a group of five, six, seven, eight at the most who want to travel, dip your toes in clear water, build a nice large charitable foundation, and build a nice large business venture, and then retire from coaching. That's my 2018 goal. And I will achieve it. It's already in the bank. If you can't see anything, well, then you have a problem. No, that's my goal, period, as a coach. The question was relative to IML. No, I don't do. No, we don't. No, 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 no. We don't look at them across multiple time frames. We do our own proprietary multiple time frame analysis called harmonic wave convergence, where we can read all waves on all charts on one indicator, on a 1 minute chart, and that's what we do. So don't bother with looking at all time frames. That's because it's old school and you don't have the technology. Uh, hey, Josh. Well, first thing you have to understand about 5 pips a day is it's not just 5 pips a day. It's 5 pips a day from new paradigm trading, which is extremely tight stop losses, and for the most part, where we put our risk of 2% into a 10 pip stop loss. And so 2% into a 10 pip stop loss, a 5 pip gain is a 1% return per day on average. And there are a gazillion calculators out there that'll show you what compounding 1% a day. We look at months from a trading day perspective, not a calendar month. And so a trading month may have as little as 20 trading days, as many as 26. The norm is about 23, unless you're taking, vacation or something like that. So 1% a day for 23 days, that becomes compounded. And then you do that for 24 months, and it's $1.43 million. Anybody in this group, I can have you trading 5 pips a day, net 5 pips a day, easy, by the end of January. I'd say the end of December, except I'm about to take some time off here. So it's not the technical issue of getting 5 pips a day. The technical issue is your head game being able to handle that and handle the growth that creates. And then there become logistical issues as you get higher up in income. Are we being funny here? You should have a scans, forks, and Fibos slide. Oh, you're talking to somebody else. I'm sorry, Zoe. Yeah, so it's about the stop loss. And in fact, most of my traders, as we move on in technology and, a few tricks using some knowledge about Elliott Wave and whatnot, for the most part, we trade with 3 pip stop losses. Well, we trade with a 1 pip stop loss, but it's a 2 pip entry. So it's typically 3 pips, 3 to 4 spread and all that stuff in there. There's no need to have anything bigger than that if you're precision trading, because it violates the rules of Elliott Wave, and it's that's kind of silly. So money management's easy. You just have to pick one of the stuff we teach and move forward with that, and quit having FOMO. I mean, the whole fear of missing out is what. Well, you can't really understand why everyone's not trying to trade in the new paradigm. First of all, you do have to be able to do math. So that rules out 50% of our population. Um, you have to understand how trading works. And, look, I've done my job. I've been trying to do that for a long time here, the past 18 months, to the IML audience, even before I was, kind of really associated with it, just on the periphery, not building a business and just sitting out there in education. I mean, Jason recruited me for over a year. He'll tell you that. Go ask him. Um, because 99% of the traders don't understand how trading works. And when they don't understand how trading works, they're stuck in that paradigm of what they know. I mean that's the whole concept of a paradigm to begin with. People live in what they know. And so when they trade with big fat stop losses because they have time frames they look at, it's the circuitous, which came first, the chicken or the egg, right? They are trading big fat time frames because that's the only way they can make enough pips, because they have a big fat stop loss to trade the big time frame. And when all's said and done, you know, they go 150, 200 pips or more to make their 2%. And those kinds of trades don't happen all the time. Those kinds of trades are hard to navigate 100% through without legging down and getting about 25% of the pips in total when you measure it across all the legs of the trade, all the lots of the trade. So they have to go, and that was my joke when I opened. Hey, London session, 500 pips, let's go. Pound yen. They have to get those big trades. They want that big momentum move because there they are. They have to, you're not going to make any money anywhere. And so they don't understand. I mean, it's right there in front of them. They don't understand. Well, gee, if I had a system, if I could trade a 10 pip stop loss and put my 2% into that, well, then every 10 pips I'm making 2%. Well, they can't fathom a 10 pip stop loss because they're sitting there with their 100, 150, 185, 75, whatever it is, pip stop loss. And they can't think about a 10 pip stop loss. They think you're crazy. But that's because they're on that big move with big lagging indicators, and they have no idea what price is doing within a 50, 75, 100 pip zone. Which is why they have to have that. Oh, we're 100 pips from the bottom. We have to cover the bottom with our stop loss. And so therein is the rub. So you have to at the start figure out what trading's about. How do you make money in the Forex? You make money in the Forex by having the highest dollar per pip gain. Pip for pip. Everybody thinks that a pip is a pip. It's not. A pip is a pip in terms of how you measure it, micro, mini, standard, and lots, but not in terms of profitability. That pip changes value based on your stop loss. And the tighter your stop loss, the more, they're sitting there with a 150 pip stop loss. I'm sitting there with a 10 pip stop loss. Guess what? I'm making 15 times the money each pip in that same trade. Hey, if they have a 100 pip stop loss and I've got my 10 pip stop loss, I'm still making 10 times per pip than they're making. And so people don't understand that. People don't understand that. They just think, you get pips, it's dollars, and I'm on my way to the next trade. That's why they system jump. Yeah, they're clueless. So you have to, I don't think it's so much about stubbornness. It's a lack of knowledge, that's all. Once it's kind of like once you taste it, you can't go back. I guarantee you, those of you who've been here since, September with me, I you're going to have a real hard time going back to the old paradigm. You're going to have a real hard time. Because once you understand how the money works, you're in there. And, guess what? The other thing is the head game is aligned with the new paradigm of tight stops. The head game is in conflict with the old paradigm and large stops. Everything about it. People say, well, you're putting your 2% to a 10 pip stop loss. I'm putting my 2% to a 150 pip stop loss. If we both get stopped out, we both lose 2%. Hey, factually, it's true. Come on, Steve. You're the one that says do the math. Math. You're right. Here's the difference. When you lose your 2% with a 150 pip stop loss, you have to go and make 150 pips to get back to break even. I have to make 10. Most of the time with a 3 to 5 pip stop, I'm not even using the full 2%. I'm using only 1%. So I get stopped out at 1%. Hey, I got to go make 3 or 4 or 5 pips and I'm back to break even. Ask yourself, how many 150 pip trades a day are there versus how many 5 pips a day trades are there? How quickly I could be back at break even while you're waiting hours, sometimes days. And when you have to have 150 pips to make up for a loss, guess what happens to your head? You become desperate, you become impatient, and when all that happens, your RAS gets shifted. Your ego takes over. You become desperate. And now you don't even know that you're taking crap trades because your subconscious and your RAS is all about serving you loyally as the crew. So they're going to say, hey, let's give him a trade. Screen out that stuff that would tell him not to take this trade because he wants a trade. So you don't even see the stuff you need to see when you're that desperate. So you have a 10 times factor, sometimes 15 times factor, even if it's a 5x factor, even if they're sitting there with, they're on a 1 hour chart with a small scale and they've got a 50 pip stop loss, you're still making 5 times the profit. So you can do it one of two ways. You can look at that math, law of association, one of two ways. You can either be in the same kinds of trades and make 5 times the profit, or you can be in smaller trades, make 1/5 the profit, but make 1/5 the pips, but make the same profit. So as Zoe says, now you have time to be on the beach. Yeah, me, Todd. So it is about understanding the math. And again, if you're new and you're kind of like, what the hell is he talking about? Go to our group. there's the group right there on the screen, Facebook group. Go to our group, go through the videos in the pinned post. You will then understand. Once you understand the math, then the work is worth it. So many people, they don't want to do the work. Well, that's another thing about being a Forex trader. You're in the wrong group if you're looking for overnight success. If you're looking for buy it Friday, trade it Monday, you're in the wrong group. I'm about creating long-term success traders. I'm not about trying to offer some emotional smoke and mirror shiny pan thing. I'm out of here. Okay. Pajama investments. There you go. I like that. So, learn the math. That's your great motivator. Learn the math, guys. Learn the math so you could teach it. That's when you've got it. That's when you'll know it. And that's when you can dig into a goal here and know it's real. I watch. Yeah, I want to be careful. I put it this way: I observe several groups, and it's funny when one group is or some posts in one group. Oh man, I'm nailing it with this. Yeah, I've taken 13 trades and won 11 of them, and blah blah blah. And I see somebody else post. I'm doing the exact same thing you are, and I've lost 11 in a row today. Now, the guy that got 11 out of 13, you know what? Is that skill or luck? Guy that wins 11 out of 13 right now in the Facebook group, is that skill or luck? Well, you don't really know. But I'll tell you, I know. It's luck. You know how I know it's luck? Because I listen to them answer the questions of the people who lost 7 or 9 in a row when they're saying, what are you doing? And I listen to what they say they're doing. And they're so generic and they're repeating something somebody told them. They couldn't execute anything they're talking about. And again, I'm not trying to be smug, I'm not trying to be derogatory, but you can see it. So they can't see that. What I'm trying to suggest is they don't know why they've won 11 out of 13. And that's why they can't explain it to the trader that's lost 9 in a row. And it's because they're both chasing shiny objects. They got SOS, shiny object syndrome. They're not in there with skill, with knowledge, and perfecting that. And that's what it's going to take. So you can be predictive of your trades. As I say, the only trades I take are the ones I'm going to win. I don't bother with the other stuff. So the biggest observation I would have with this group, as I see it in the Facebook group, of course I can't, in here, how much alignment there is between the people in here and how much actually participate in the Facebook group, I don't know. Um, and a lot of those names are different, so I don't always know everybody. Um, No, what I said was at the larger level, you trade between support and resistance lines. But because those waves are bigger, those distances are going to be far apart. They're not relevant to 15-minute trade. You may have a 15-minute wave that goes up, a 15-minute wave that comes down, a 15-minute wave go up, a 15-minute wave come down. I'm talking a wave meaning like a CD length kind of wave. You might have that 10 times in the space of two support and resistance levels on a 4-hour chart. And you don't care about those small waves in the 4-hour level because you can't measure them. So the only time your 4-hour support and resistance matter at the 15-minute level is when that 15-minute level wave is coinciding with the 8-hour wave. The last of the last of the last Elliott wave, at the lower level that meets up with the 8-hour wave or the 4-hour wave. So maybe, 10%, 15% of the time, 8-hour, 4-hour support and resistance has any validity on a 15-minute chart. Likewise, support and resistance on the 15-minute chart isn't going to do anything at the 4-hour level until it coincides with that last support level. Meaning if you put 4-hour support and resistance on a 15-minute chart, you're going to wait a hell of a long time and you're going to get stopped out quite a bit just because those distances are so far apart. Well, these are their IML username, which is not obviously their Facebook name. So we have much different support and resistance at the 15-minute level, and they go in sets. There's subcomponents. 15-minute, 30-minute level, you're going to have a lot more interaction. You need intraday support and resistance, not swing trade support and resistance. And again, see, the math works out. If you just pay attention and absorb this over time, the reason they don't have more support and resistance at the 4-hour level is because the turns are bigger, and the turns are bigger because your lag is bigger. And the lag doesn't allow you to see inside those distances. In time, you have to have, if you're going to be a serious trader, in time, you have to have, well, I have to be careful again. There are plenty of people that come in, find something, and that's all they need to do to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you spend all of your time, all the time, researching and studying, you'll never be a trader. So you have to find the balance. And a lot of traders will just find something that works and they could stick with that. But if you're going to be a seasoned trader, if you're going to be a tenured trader, if you want to have options with your trading, you will have to understand waveology. That's my term for it. You have to understand waveology. If you don't understand waveology, for the most part, you don't know what you're doing. Again, not, I've said it a gazillion times. I'm no brilliant guy. I'm unlike Yogi. I'm not smarter than the average bear. To somebody new in trading, I seem smart, but that's just years. It has nothing to do with intelligence. If I could live in the mountains or live on the beach, where would you live? Somewhere in between. I have to have both in my life. You ever see the bears up in Alaska pulling the salmon out of the water? I mean, if you're gonna, the kids used to do that with me when they were younger. You know, if you had to do this or you had to do that, which would you do? And some of them are just so ridiculous. But if I absolutely, absolutely had to have just one, it would be the mountains. But I love the beach a lot too. I grew up on the beach, so yeah, they are not. They absolutely are not. So, all right, I got off track. When I observe the group, you know, and that's what a good coach does. Well, one, you kind of have to by default. You see patterns, just like you see patterns on the chart as a trader. As a coach, I see, and I've learned how to coach better and better over the years. Some of my students might not think so. Um, I've learned how to read traders better and better over the years. And um, so I can see patterns with masses of traders. So in our group, I can see patterns. And right now, the group as a bell curve, and this doesn't apply to everybody, but the group as a bell curve, has got to grow through your FOMO issues, a fear of missing out. Um, it will kill you. And I understand where FOMO comes from in the old paradigm. But you have to shed that baggage, you know. You have to shed that baggage in here in the new paradigm. Well, yeah, well, Zoe, you've learned how to read me. You've been around forever. Um, Pitchfork question: With price bounces off the parallels, what should we do for money management? Hypothetical question. First thing I'd say is you didn't give me like 1/10 the information there. Is this a brand new traditional fork? Is this a tried and true best fit with a gazillion touches? Are those gazillion touches mixed and random, short to the pip, breach? Are they all to the pip? Is it the fourth or fifth or sixth one on that same line? What is my gain month to date? What is my gain for the year? What am I doing in the next 30 minutes? What time frame am I trading? Well, one of the things you guys are, that a newer trader does is their RES is so caught up in the immediacy of the area of the fork. And, I've said before, look back, look in history. Uh, you know, Unless there's been some major, like 500 pip shift in the price, there'll be correlations with previous price movement into your current fork. And so I would look for, you know, the swing that I base the fork off of, the swing high, swing low, or the swing low, swing high. I would look and see how big that is, and is that pretty much standard over what I've seen in my immediacy. So it depends on what time frame you're trading. If you're talking a 15-minute pitchfork, then I might want to look in the next, all the way back 24, 48 hours and beyond. What are the average swings? That'll tell me the probability of a fork going from top to bottom, bottom to top, or to the median. What did I miss? I'm kind of looking at the. I'm looking at my front window, getting hypnotized by some of my Christmas lights. I'm not watching the chat box. Yes, I'm going to be in Vegas in March. Tickets and hotel purchased. So you size it up, before you even draw it. Then the way I trade, both on skill and tools, I don't have to, you know, how would you say it? Um, I don't have to make decisions. Is this going to be a short move or a long move? If it's a short move, I'll make the short term pips and be protected from a reversal. If it's the long move, I'll make the long pips in the move without the expense of anything else. So, RSI source. All right, a little confusion there. The pitchfork has nothing to do with the scan in terms of the scan success. The scan has an independent success rate or chance of success being measured as a 15% move or a 15% of the CD move 89.33% of the time is a statistical average. So it's between 88 and 92, somewhere in there, depending on the pattern, whether it's bearish or bullish, etc. But when you average all the mumbo jumbo up, it's around 90%, 89.3. So at that point, you have that chance of success rate getting to 15%. That's all of the scan. You marry a Charlie Delta fork to that, it doesn't change that relationship about the scan. The scans weren't tested with pitchforks attached. Totally independent of that, you have a traditional pitchfork, which Andrews has proven from the entry into the fork from the swing high or swing low, depending on which one is the entry point. There's an 80% chance from that point that it'll get to the median. So you have a 10% lossage there if you marry the two. So if I put a Charlie Delta on top of a scan, the scan has a 90% chance of going 15%, but that same move has an 80% chance of going to the median because it's a pitchfork. So they're two separate things, but they do marry on top of each other. Good job, customer. Well, now you introduce other issues because, you know, the as you'll learn eventually from the law of spirals and whatnot, your success and even before success, your motivation to chase success is all about your belief at many levels. Your belief of the Forex, your belief of, IML and what it teaches, your belief of what I'm doing and what I teach, and then your personal belief as far as a self-worth deservedness factor. So you will have partners that, and you just have to understand people are at different levels from their belief sets. And that belief set then will, if it's a strong negative belief, nobody's going to be truly motivated to do the right stuff. And what happens then? Their results validate their belief because they're not motivated to do it. Their actions aren't adequate. Without adequate actions, they get terrible results, and the terrible results further validate their belief that it's not going to work. So that's part of the spiral you get in the law of spirals. Who wants to answer this? What's the best way to get a significant other involved in the Forex? What is the absolute best path to get your significant other involved in the Forex? I ain't saying another word till somebody answers this. Do 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 do. Let me go find some Lindsey Sterling music. What is the absolute best way to get your significant other into the Forex? Chocolate. Oh my lordy. That's a great answer. Hey Neil, thank you for the plug. I just gave you the answer. If somebody doesn't have the right belief, they're not going to take the right action. If somebody has the right belief, they will do what it takes. So the best way to get your significant other involved in the Forex is to stick a stack of about 6 or 8 books and say, let's get through this. Let's have reading hour every night. And you make sure he, she, it goes through those books. And when they come out the other end, they're going to start to have an understanding that people in 10 times the physical condition, 10 times worse financial condition, 10 times worse dysfunctional family condition, have made big achievements. You have to create believability. You have to create believability. Once that person has believability, you know, there's a some of you who are involved in the business side. I have people I've known for years who have jumped MLM to MLM to MLM, and they go through the same pattern. They get excited about the product, they get excited about the potential compensation, but they're afraid to share it to somebody. Their ego and their emotion convinces them they need to have all the knowledge, in the case of, let's say, IML, that a Jason Brown or a Brandon Boyd has. All the knowledge of the product and all that leadership and all the BMW sports cars and the Armani suits. You have to have all that before you can go start recruiting. It's an ego protection mechanism because you don't have all that stuff, and so you do not do the action, you do not do the work, and therefore you prove to everybody, but more so yourself, that you're not right for this. And so with believability, it's okay. So the thing I tell those people, those that want to build the business, okay, and this is true for other stuff, not just MLM, but there's a saying I have, and I picked it up from somewhere else and just modified it a little, so it's not my great creative brilliance. But the reality is, you cannot give the right message to the wrong person. And you cannot give the wrong message to the right person. In other words, it's not the Armani suit that signs somebody up. It's you just give the message. And it doesn't even have to be you. It could be a link to a Jason Brown or an Alex Morton video. If they see the message, they get the vision. It doesn't matter if you're sitting there with a tie-dyed t-shirt and cut-off jeans at Starbucks. They're gonna get it. Likewise, if you have somebody who is already predisposed because they don't have a belief in the industry, in the company, more so themselves, although they won't profess it that way, it doesn't matter if you go in there with your Armani suit and Tony Robbins doing the presentation. If they're not ready for the message, they are not going to get it. You cannot give the right message to the wrong person, and you cannot give the wrong message to the right person. That's applicable if you're talking about a relationship and you'd like your significant other to be trading with you. If they're not ready for the message, and most of the time it's a believability issue. It doesn't matter what you do, how you beg, or how many boxes of chocolates you give them. They're not going to have the action. They might go through the motions to kind of pretend, but now you have to understand the law of spirals. Potential, action, results, belief, potential, and that spirals. Their actions will be a result of their belief. Their results are going to come from the kind of action they put in. Think of that same person while you were courting them or dating them or whatever you want to call it. And you're all pumped up to go and do something and they're not. Come on, let's go, let's go. I thought we'd just stay in tonight. Oh, come on, man, it'll be fun. Oh, okay, if you insist. And they go out. Well, how much fun do you have at that date that night? Very little, because the person's just going through the motions. They don't believe they're going to have a good time doing it, so they don't put forth the effort to have a good time. And if they're not going to put the action in, the results are going to be just that. And then they go home and they do what? They pout because I told you we weren't going to have a good time. A little bit of RAS, a little bit of ego, a little bit of law of attraction. Right? So it's the same way everywhere. Belief is the factor, and it's, we live in a world where we're beat down all the time. We're absolutely beat down. Negative news, negative media. Oh my God, the political scene, forget it. World crises, forget it. Economic, chaos, forget it. And then you have people left and right of you who don't want to see you succeed because then their ego will be upset with them. So what are they going to do instead of helping you and support you to succeed? They're going to either consciously, most of the time subconsciously or unconsciously, sabotage you the best they can. You'll never do that. I know Billy Bob tried to trade the stock market and he lost his house. And all that stuff, boom, 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 gets fallen into your subconscious. And then your parents or siblings or whatever, oh, you were supposed to go to college. I don't know what you're doing trying to do this and not go to college. And, because they're based on credentials and jobs and careers. And you're trying to do something totally separate from all that. Screw the job, screw the career. I want time freedom. But they're not going to be, and I'm bell curving, and I know there are supportive families, so don't get me wrong. I'm speaking, the average, the majority. They're not going to be supportive. And when you have your first bad trading day and you go moping over to them, they're not going to say, brush your pants off, get back up on the saddle. They're going to say, see, I told you so. Believability is there. Now, somebody said lead. That's a pretty good comment. Several of you were kind of like, be the leader, show the example. It doesn't take the money. It doesn't take the success yet to get them excited. It takes your passion. Your believability is so overflowing, is so confident, is so, the word to understand, get your pen and paper out and write this word down. You have inevitable belief. You haven't got there, but you know you will. And I'm not just saying you say that because you think you're supposed to say it. You're saying that because you know you will get there. You know you will go through every obstacle. And when you have that kind of passion, it bleeds. If they really care about you. Now, you take that passion, and some of you are jumping on the goal maker plan, you were trying to hit there too, and that's true. So you take that passion and that believability, and you share those dreams in detail with your partner. But it's not one way. This is where most of you are missing it. Well, yeah, as I observe. I know some of you are hitting it on all cylinders, but it's as much you understanding their dreams So you can be supportive of their dreams. Then they'll be supportive back. Now, I know a lot of times, because I've run into this myself personally, you have a significant other who doesn't have any dreams. Well, you have to plant those dreams then. They have something, it's just so dormant because of lack of belief that they don't consciously bring them to the surface. So your job is to do that. Your job is to pull those dreams from the depths. There's a dream in there, trust me. Maybe it was when they were 5 or 7 or 13 or 21, middle college, out of college, whatever. There's dreams in all of us that are dormant. And if you want to get your partner fired up about what you're doing, you have to help them find that dream. And then ask them, why is it no longer there? Why haven't you talked about this to me? Why have you suppressed this? And you're going to hear all the real world stuff. All the obstacles that came up because they weren't raised in a self-development, self-growth world. Who is? Very few people. So they don't know. They may think, you got the whole spectrum there. They may think they're a victim. They don't want to hear the harsh reality of accountability and ownership for their own fate. They don't want to hear that. Some of them. Right? So you have to help them with that. And you have to kind of be their own therapist. You have to ask questions, get the answers, and see how you lead is because you've already read your how many books for the year, Zoe? I know you're a little behind, but in Pip Club, well, in the Elite Trader part of Pip Club, we have a group, and the traders' membership in that group, sort of, special should be, requires 2 book summaries a month of the 4 books they read that month. Some shoot for 5. That'll give you about 50 books a year. Now you do that and you diagnose your significant other as to where their weaknesses are, you know which books to give them. You know how to stack them up. So when you sit down and you do your joint reading, you got them reading the right stuff. But some of you are asking for support, and you don't even have your own dreams done. You don't even have your own goals figured out. What's your objective this month in your trading? How are you going to disperse that out over the 4 weeks of the month? So at the end of each week, on Sunday night of each week, did you make your goals for the week or did you not? And the only way you're going to do that is as you look back and see whether you made your goals or not. As you look forward to the next week, you've got your day by day, goals, subtasks, whatever fancy label you want to give it. So when you sit down next Sunday night, you can say, I achieved what I needed to do for the week because I did what I did each day that contributed to the week. And therefore, as I look, we're second week in the month. Now I am 50% of where I need to be at the end of the month because I've got 100% of what I'm supposed to do the last 2 weeks because I did 100% of what I was supposed to do every single day to make sure the week was done. What kind of book do you read? Well, some are hardback, some are audio. Ouch. can't type when I look off to the side like that. Really? Well, I was going to take you to a link, but I think I took it down. Well, shucks. Why would I have done that? Anyway, I'll post it in the group. So go to the group. I'll show you a piece of my self-development library. I've only got about 75% of it there because it's it's just overflowed to too many spots in my house. But yeah, so you've got to read. Do I read audiobooks aloud to myself? No, I let the author read them to me. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm just having a little fun. So the best kind of books, rah rah stuff is nice. The best kind of stuff is formulaic, and I like, biographies or autobiographies where you learn, it's time to kick the pity off. You stop having little pity parties. There are people who have 10 times worse conditions who've had dreams so vivid and so passionate and so inevitable in their mind that whatever obstacles they had to overcome, they overcame them. They didn't let the obstacles be the impediment to them getting to their goals. Save room for gap map, Zoe. Or gat mat. You, yeah, I don't know. I know a lot of you just think I'm rambling. The deal is, you have to grow so much to become a trader, and it's just hard to understand when you're brand new, because you just we don't understand the head game in most of our lives. It's just some of us get it naturally, some of us, the majority of us don't, and so you don't understand what the head game is, and so you're a little like, what the hell are they talking about? Well, it can't mean that much of a difference, blah 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 blah, and it's everything. Audiobooks are good. Hey, you know what? You can always start with the basics. There's, you know, uh, some of you, and again, I'm talking to some of you, but don't everybody think I'm talking to you. Um, yeah, I think I understood the previous question, and Richard, you're answering it, I think the way they intended the question, and that being, especially when it's the author reading the book. I like those the best. The best example of that would have been Grant Cardone's 10X. I loved reading along while he read the book. I had such absorption, what's the word, comprehension. He's one of the few authors that I really enjoy that with. Yeah, so what we do in our group, and Zoe's kind of our leader for this, if you will, um, is we find the 4 books we're going to read the next month before that month starts. And then we do a page count for all four books, and then divide that by the number of days we're actually going to be reading. So you get to it's your way of gauging how you're going to finish all four books. Do the math. Do the math. So find out how many pages those four books total. Divide by 4. You have a daily page count, whether it's 5 days a week, 4 days a week, 7 days a week. And it's real easy to then get that time slot. And now you're going to read about the same amount of time each day. And it's not a race. You want to make sure you have comprehension. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you how to read. I will post you some of my library right from the bookshelves so you can see the kinds of books I read. Yeah, I should have done the heavy breathing, huh? Although with this microphone where I have it, you guys probably hear me breathing. Callie's gone, so she can't purr to you. So, if you want your significant other to be super supportive, if you want to take it further, you'd really enjoy having your significant other trade. Then you have to give them the motivation, which means you have to paint the vision. You have to give them the belief if they don't have it. And it's got to be honest support, not go through the motions. Just like I said, that go through the motions date doesn't go anywhere. You would have been better sitting at home watching, Netflix or whatever. What scared the what out of you? What did I do? Who did something? What happened? Did I miss something? So, you guys that are new, somewhat new, don't deprioritize the books. I'd rather see you take less trades. I'd rather see you backed up on videos because the time you do have, if it's small, you're going to have to put in there. One last thing, and it's I was reviewing the Goalmaker stuff for the people that got it, and the the thing that I don't do service to there in a way that it deserves, and surely covered in Gap Map and the Law of Spirals, is the difference. Do the math. Do the math. Is there's a difference between dreams and goals and values and priorities. Values are more aligned to priorities. And that means it tends to have a shorter term orientation, although long term priorities can affect goals, long term goals too. And the problem therein is if you're going to make true goals, your priorities and values have to be aligned with those goals. They can't be in conflict. Okay. No, the $29 or the $49 promo ended yesterday. But if you write a real sweet note, I'll still give you a discount off what the price is the rest of this week. Not as low as $49 because some people jump through hoops to make that happen. So let me give you an example here. You can't have a goal of a certain gym regimen, routine that takes an hour and a half. I used to run Um, and I got to a point where I was running, and I wasn't a runner. Okay, so you understand. Um, I was running 4 miles a day. Actually, it was about 4.1. And when I started, I barely could jog a block. But that's what I did. I jogged the block. And then the next day I went, jogged a block, plus one more mailbox in the subdivision. That's just to turn on your internal competitiveness with yourself. And, whatever it is, you can go one step further. You always can. A long time ago, I had, back on the East Coast, I had a California hot tub. It looked like this old big wine press things. I mean, it's about 8 feet, 10 feet across, and made out of like wine barrel wood, but it just looked like a big wine barrel. It was so big I can literally swim across it, but it was very deep. And while I was sitting there vegging out, relaxing, I just started said, I'm going to learn how to hold my breath, and did the same concept. Hold your breath for 30 seconds. You can always go one more second the next day. Just go one more second. A couple months, I mean, it's crazy. I was holding my breath for almost 4 minutes. All I had to do is go one more second the next day. Right? You can go one more mailbox while you're running. So I got to the 4 mile point, and I didn't want to run any more in distance. It wasn't, middle-aged guy. I didn't want to kill myself and want to have double knee replacements. But then I just started working on the time, because I can always run 1 second faster the next day. It's all doable. I had a girlfriend one time. Oh my God. Little tiny thing. Pretty as all get out. Just the cutest little girl. Bubbly personality. Funny as hell. She could have been a stand-up comedian. She was so witty on the spot. True humor. True sarcastic humor. She was intelligent. She was extroverted. She was adventurous. I could go on and on and on. 9.9 out of 10. Right? What was the last 10th decimal point? She smoked. And not extensive, but still enough. Pack a day kind of thing. And she came to me one day and said, "That's it. I'm just tired. I'm tired of everything smelling like smoke. My car, my clothes, my house. I'm done." And I'm like, "Okay, Jen, how you gonna, what are you gonna do?" And she said, "I'm gonna quit for a minute." And I looked at her and she said, "And then I'm gonna quit for a million more." And she went cold turkey. No patches, no medicine, no gum. She was at work. I called her at work. She was there about 15, 20 minutes. I said, "How you doing?" She said, "I quit 20 times already." She just went a minute and then said, "If I went a minute, I can go another minute. I already proved to myself I can go a minute." So she wasn't counting, "Oh, I went 10, I went 11. She just said, "I got 60 seconds, I can make it." And once she did, an hour, then she knew she could do another hour. And then she did 2 hours and 3 hours. And then once she did a day, she said, "I can go a day." And she went cold turkey, never touched a cigarette again. That's how you do it. One more bell box, 1 second faster, 1 second more underwater, one more minute not smoking. You could do anything. You could absolutely do anything. When you prove it to yourself, that's pretty cool. That's all you need. Goals and values. Okay, got to end here. So you can't have priorities which are driven by your values that are in conflict with your goals. So I was talking about the gym. And the reason I brought up the running things, because by the time I got to 4 miles a day, I was just over 6 minutes a mile. So I was clipping along for, a young middle-aged guy. I was clipping along. About as close to a sprint as you can get without it being a sprint, and then for 4 miles. And so it typically I had to change into my gym gear, and then I would stretch. And then I ran for 25 minutes. And then I would walk, not that far, maybe half a mile, just cool down, walk, take in the, sights, come back home. Didn't want to get in the shower right away because my body was still hot. Get in the shower, come out, I'd still be sweating, so I had to cool down first some. Little post-run stretching here and there. Get the shower, get dressed. Hour and a half. Hour and a half. Long time for a 6-minute mile. So that was so important to me. And I ran, let me tell you, 7 days a week. I wasn't, for those of you who have been in this situation, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It wasn't about a mental thing, it was a health thing. I was addicted to the endorphins. Literally. I mean, I would have a panic attack if something came along and I couldn't get my run in. Because I was going to have withdrawal. I had to have my daily endorphins. Because what I did at that pace was enough to generate them. I'd be out there, my family shaking their head at me. 20 degrees, Northern Virginia, 20 degrees, sleet hitting me in the face. The sweat back then, I used to have a real full mustache. My mustache was nothing but icicles. It looked like stalactites in a cave. I ran in the snow, got hit by a car. Guy ran a stop sign, just drove right into me. Threw me up on his hood, over his windshield. I landed funny. I kind of twisted as I was doing it, and I landed on my feet, staring at his window, looking in the driver's side. And I'm like, what in the hell are you doing? He was scared to death. I just kind of laughed. The heat, oh my God, if you're going to run, wait until it cools off, run early in the morning. Not me, man. I want to run 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Virginia Beach when it's 95 degrees and 95% humidity. Breathing so hard to run that 6 minutes that I'm sucking in mosquitoes and gnats as I'm running. Had to do it. But then life changes. Things come along. And all of a sudden, you don't have that hour and a half anymore. Dynamics change. For me, one of them was a new baby. There's no way I'm going to let my wife sit back while I go run for an hour and a half when she was busy too. So my goals got changed by my priorities. I've made other decisions in my training. Those of you who've been around me many years know some of these decisions. I'll tell the full story sometime, but I made a decision to be active in my son's life once he got to high school and he started playing basketball. And I gave up between 3 and 10 hours a day of trading time because that was a bigger priority to me. That had more value to me than any amount of money I could make. So we have those. Here's the trick, and this is why I wanted to get here. You can't let excuses become values and priorities. You can't let excuses become values and priorities. Values and priorities will and can and should, in many cases, shift your goal or put your goal on hiatus, depending on the length of the priority and the length of the value. But you cannot let excuses become priorities. See, because priorities are a valid reason for your goal to get delayed or changed. But you can't let an excuse become a priority just for the sake of then letting the excuse delay your goal. They're not the same. You can't say, yeah, I'm not running like I used to and I'm putting on weight, but oh well. You can't make not running anymore allow. So what you have to say is that's an excuse. Instead, change what you eat. You're going to have to change your diet lifestyle because you can't do that. Oh my God, there were studies done when I was going to the Naval Academy, and you see these guys and everybody's got 6 packs, 8 packs, toned. I'm not talking, they look like the Hulk, but everybody has just that athletic toned body. That's just, we spent so much time with athletics. I used to run 2 miles before morning formation. That was, 5:30, quarter of 6. We had to have phys ed. I had varsity football. We had weightlifting. My roommate and I were just absolute squash nuts. We played squash all the time. And then many times I would run the yard, which is the perimeter of the academy, which is 5 or 6 miles. We were burning on average about 6,500 calories a day. I started telling my mom, "Oh yeah, what'd you have for breakfast?" Well, I had a 3 egg omelet, about 7 or 8 pieces of bacon, a couple muffins. Oh yeah, we had strawberries and ice cream. And she's like, "Are you kidding me?" She was thinking I'm going to come home for Christmas with the freshman 20. And I came home skinnier than I was before I left. You can eat a lot of food when you're burning 6,000, 6,500 calories a day. But you stop burning those calories, you can't eat like that anymore. So you can't have, it's okay to have some priorities that change your goal. The best thing to do, and this is, I was talking about goal maker needing a little, it's got a bump in it, and one of the big bumps is in going to gap map is that part on values. There's the values I talk about. There are things like honesty and integrity and loyalty, and those are great values. Those are more like virtues than they are values. Value really means, what do you value in your life right now? And if you can make your annual goal trying to get to your big dream, if you do that goal planning and you think about what's important to you, but you've got to, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to go to people who have been through, Tony Robbins says, hey, you want success? Talk to the successful people. Duplicate what they do. Ask them what they do. And then you just do the same thing, right? So one of the hardest things that a parent with young children goes through is time with their children. And this now brings in this complexity of the law of spirals and where you really test your belief. When people come to me and say, well, I'd really like to trade the Forex, Steve, but I'm married, I've got 2 young children, I come home from work and I've got, 4 hours. Time with wife, time with children, we eat dinner, I do the dishes, got to give the kids their bath, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, here's the deal. I'll be life coach here because I do a lot of that. You guys need to sit down together. You need to find the master goal, the master dream that you both are buying into. Doesn't mean you have to give up your individual dreams. That's why the dream sheet session in Goal Maker is really important. It might be, you might have to give up just a wee bit of your Forex goal in order to make sure your spouse gets 80% of the goal they'd really like to have at a personal level. Because that'll be better for you rather than trying to force 100% of you want and get her, him, whatever, it. Y'all were laughing about that. To get them 100% on your side. But you need to meet and talk, and the belief has to be there in the goal. Look, honey, we're not going to make squat in our trading the first 6 to 9 months. There's an exponential curve. That path to $1.43 million, Of the 24 months, the last 6 months of that build 90% of that money. We're not going to have the results up front, but guess what? We have to. It's the laws of micro progression. Darren Hardy, compounding effect. Jeff Olson, the slight edge. It's all about the laws of micro progression and how they compound and compile. So you're in a point where one of you, or sometimes both of you, question the time you put into the Forex over other priorities that exist in front of you or perceived priorities. Maybe it's time, and again, I'm not going to say male, female, but interchange however you want, or male, male, female, female. Again, got to be progressive. I live on the left coast here. Um, or unicorn, unicorn, whatever you identify as. Um, there comes a time where you both have to see the big vision, and you both have to agree that there's certain, I won't call it sacrifices, I'll just say priorities. I made the decision in 2004 to quit a Fortune 500 job so I could trade the Forex. I wanted the same money, but instead of 80 hours a week, I wanted 20. I had two older children, and they grew up with dad making good money and having, lots of things they wanted and all that stuff, but they didn't see their dad a lot. And when they did, he was beat to crap. He was tired. He was exhausted. He traveled. He put in 12-hour days. And I just, second set of kids, I don't want to do that. So I made that decision a little bit emboldened, a little bit burned the boats. Wasn't quite ready to do it, but, I did it. Because I knew I wasn't going to fail. Failure was not an option. I knew I was going to make it as a trader. I downloaded and read Bank of America's annual report, and I believe it was Citicorp at the time. It might have been Chase, but I think it was Citicorp. I read their annual reports, and I got to the page for income. Little tight summary pages, big fat report, but little tight summary pages. And I saw that their revenue for the bank, out of all the things they're invested in, loans and real estate, and 50% of their income came from the currency market. And so it was too big and too real. If they could do it, I could do it. Yeah, they have more resources. Tough. I'll find a way. I'm going to be MacGyver, dang it. I will find a way to be successful as a trader. Persist without exception. Best decision I ever made. Got to be around those kids. We were in Northern Virginia. If we wanted to run to Ocean City, more so Virginia Beach, 3.5 hours away. I did a lot of day trips down to Virginia Beach from DC area. Look at the forecast, it's going to be 100. Oh, it's going to be so sunny and great today. Throw everybody in the car at 5 o'clock. We're down there 8:30 in the morning, hitting Subway at 9 o'clock so we can pack a dozen subs in the cooler and have food all day long. Kids get in the water at 10 o'clock and don't come out till 5. That water is so warm, 84 degrees in August off Virginia Beach. Only time come out to eat and pee. Excuse me. Wintertime comes, 4 or 5 ski resorts within 2 to 4 hours. Same deal. Man, it's supposed to snow like a mofo today. Hey, let's head up to Liberty. Hey, let's go to Charlottesville. We're going to visit some friends and hit the slopes. Stuff I like to do, stuff my wife liked to do. Get those kids on snowboards and skis at 4 or 5 years old. The bigger reality was Yeah, so you have time management. You have time. You have time freedom. More so, choice of time. We'd come back from that day trip to the beach or the day trip to the mountain skiing, playing in the snow. Sometimes for the kids, it was nothing more to go someplace where there's snow so they can make snow angels. Didn't even have to strap on skis. Just let them get it snow. Because they don't see it all but so much. I remember one year before I moved out to California, um, we have a kind of nice hill at the house we were on, but it was short. It was a little dangerous because it was right down to the street. And there was an older lady across the street, and she came over. Her kids were like at that point, 35, 40 years old. And she came over and says, "You can use my backyard." And we went over to her house. I didn't even realize it. Her whole backyard just dropped off, God, about 200 yards. Long stretch. It was like 3 football fields long, about a 200, 300-yard drop. And we went there, we had we had a toboggan kind of sled, but we had discs, and we just all day long. I've never seen those kids laugh and giggle so much. And there I was, 11 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night. And the only thing I saw is each kid came down the hill, and I would kind of try intercept them and redirect them a little if they were off course so they wouldn't hit a tree or go in the river that was over off to the other side. The only thing I thought about was all the other dads that are at work just looking out the window watching it snow, and I'm there playing with my kids. But it paid off bigger because I had the opportunity when my son hit 8th grade and he decided he wanted to play basketball. And, again, if you knew the whole story about him, and it was the best medicine for him ever. And I understood him, and and he would take my coaching. I used to coach. I've always been a coach at something, but I used to coach uh, football and basketball, city leagues and stuff like that, even before I had kids. Just a way of giving back to the community, and I enjoyed it. So I could see what his needs were physically with the basketball and direct him where he needed to work. And he took it. He took that coaching real well. He would ask for it. And he was a very introverted, antisocial kid going into high school. And basketball made him popular. Oh my God. And he finished off his senior year, captain of the team, led his conference in three pointers, led his conference. He actually led the regional area in three pointers, all state select team, Central Valley, California. Had a blast. Absolutely had a blast. But it took 3 to 10 hours a day, 6 days a week to get him there. I didn't have to have a job. I did cut back some of my trading, but I didn't have to have a job. And there couldn't have been anything better. A lot of my fellow traders, how come you haven't hit that 7-figure year yet? I'm like, dude, I've had plenty of multiple 6-figure years, never hit that 7-figure. And I said, right now I can't. It's not my priority. You always talk about money. Well, yeah, it's a goal, but this is a higher priority right now. This time will go. There's no other time I could do this. Once he graduates, I can't go back and say, oh, I wish I could do that. It's over at that point. So I had a 4.5, 5-year run with a priority in my life that, as I looked at it, allowed me to set my goals a little differently. Sometimes we have priorities that can be put off. Sometimes we can't. So let's go back to that young couple so I could end here. That younger couple that has younger kids. And, I'm not talking to anybody here, by the way, because I'm reflecting on my own life. There comes a time, and you know what? It's not just true for Forex trading. This is true for network marketers too. The way you will measure your believability in you achieving your success is by how much you are willing to just give up short term priorities, because they will stop you from making your goal, and you want your goal, so you have to give up those short term priorities. That's when you know you believe in your goal. That is a mental, emotional, sometimes physical way of burning the boats like Cortez did. And you and your partner have to be on the same page for that. And what that really means is little Billy Bob and little Sally Sue may not see but 15, 20 minutes of their dad a day for the next 18 months, so he can have the rest of their life. You will convince yourself, I have to spend 2 hours with them because that's important to me. And then you'll do that for the next 16 years until they're 18. And you'll never make your big goals, because that's how you viewed your priority. And it takes a strong couple with the same goal and dream to say, we're still going to be the best parents we can. It's just they're not going to see as much of us over the next 12 to 18 months, so we can get that magic hump going, so both of us can now be at home. And now they'll have mom and dad in their life 18 hours a day for the next 16 years. Or you can have your 22 hours of hectic time where you're stressed. Got to make the sandwiches tomorrow. Oh, the cupcakes are due for the bake sale. Blah, 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 blah. Got to get oh, she needs her dress for the recycle. And that's how you spend your 2 hours? Are you serious? I'm not telling you how to live your life, but that's it. And trust me, I know so many people. I know people who came to me when Dallas was in high school, friends, longtime friends, who would say things like, man, Dallas is lucky. He gets you 3 hours a day, 10 hours a day, every day. I wish I could do that. And I'm like, you had a chance. You just chose differently. You're going to have to burn the boats to be that. Look, how would I say this? You can cover your $145 a month for your IML fees in trading. You can make an extra $500 a month in your Forex trading. Realize that long time studies, year after year after year, have discovered the same thing. 50% of the divorces in the United States could have been saved by $500 a month. So I'm not going to be derogatory or belittling of somebody that wants to come in here and make $500 a month. But if you dream of being, when you want to go to the mountains, when you want, go to the beach when you want, and you go to the beach a couple of days because it's really nice, and you say, you know what? Come on, honey, you make the reservations, you pick the destination, but it's just I want to put my feet in the water and see my toes. It's got to be clear water. Let's go for a week, 10 days. If you want to have that second home, why do you have to choose between the mountains and the beach? Have a home both places. If you want that from the Forex, you're not going to get there an hour a day. Now, I know a lot of people give me all the story. They tell me what I want to hear. I got 90 minutes a day. And you say 30 minutes. I'm spending 90 minutes a day on self-development. And I'm watching all your videos 5 times. And I'm taking notes, and I'm going to so-and-so session, and I'm going through the academy, and I'm demo trading, and I'm probably putting in 4 or 5 hours. Now, I know some of you are, but I also know a lot of you think you are, and you're not. Because, the Cowboys and Redskins game is more important. Because, In the next 3 to 4 weeks, you got probably 10 open houses you can go to when you really only need to go to one or two. But let's go to all 10. And on and on and on. You're not going to be the master trader with that financial and time independence without burning the boats somewhere, somehow in your life. It'll be the best decision you ever make because now you've secured your future. But in the short term, it's really hard to do. It's really hard to do. If you're married or you have a fiance, you're engaged, or you have a life partnership or, whatever, your union with the hugging the trees or, whatever is your orientation, you both have to be on the same page. And this is why I get so many emails about Goalmaker, because it's taught to accommodate couples. Because you can't, and I guarantee you, I've spent, I don't want to say because, I'm old. I've spent enough time that probably represents more than half of most of y'all's lives studying goal achievement. Again, I'm not bragging, I'm not smart, it's just years. I mean, that's my point. It's just years. But it's a rare day in hell for somebody to teach goal achievement, goal planning, and talk about the significance of the spouse being on the same page. You won't see that. I don't know about them Tar Heels this year, Tim. So, I watch a football game, and I'm transparent. I say it, you know, but I don't watch 6 football games a weekend. Usually, just half of one. But the last month, I actually went to 2, big time college games, and went through the whole deal at the stadium. But so you got to make sacrifice somewhere. You have to lower your emotional belief that the priority has to be the priority at the expense of everything else, because the expense of everything else that you're making it is the expense of the rest of your life. You are selling your soul today for the rest of your life, rather than mapping it out and saying, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do for the next 9, 12, 18 months, whatever it is. And it varies from couple to couple, individual to individual. I don't care if you're single. It's just easier to do with a couple because you can support each other. If you allow certain things to be perceived as priority in your head and heart, and that is in conflict with your goal, you will never make your goal. Hate to say it. And get past the Holy Grail. Get past it. I still see too many of you involved in that. As I tell my PIP clubbers, unfortunately, if you got any kids listening on speaker, tell them to leave the room. I'll give you 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. There is no Forex fairy that sprinkles Forex dust on you overnight and the next day you're a successful trader. Quit looking for it. She, he, it, they don't exist. If you're going to make it as a Forex trader, it's because of you. Your choices, your decisions, your actions, your sacrifices. You know how many millionaires, and I mean like not $999,999 millionaire. I mean like 10, 20, 100 millionaire, $100 million millionaire. You know how many millionaires have come out of Microsoft? Your daughter heard me. There is a Forex fairy. I was just kidding. I was with some friends when I relayed that information. I mean, I don't remember what the number was at that time. It's just phenomenal. You know, 1,200. You know, and this is like a decade ago. 1,200 Microsoft employees. You know, with $100 million or more. It's crazy numbers. And everybody at the table was like, "Oh man, I wish that was me." You know, and they're the ones when 5 o'clock comes, they're like Fred Flintstone riding down the back of that dinosaur. Woo! Day's end. Some of them stopping at, 7-Eleven or the Mini Mart or whatever you got in your town, buying their 12 pack and go home and escape from their day of hard work in the rock quarry. And they want to be like the Microsoft employee that has $100 million. I've read some of those biographies, autobiographies of those Microsoft employees. In those early days, I mean, it wasn't worth going home at 2 o'clock in the morning because Bill Gates expected you back in the office at 5. A lot of those $100 million, stock investors, stock owners, had cot at the office. They actually had rooms with multiple cots. It looked like an infirmary during the war. Looked like a doctor in residence in a hospital where they're on 18 and then they get about 3 hours sleep and they're on for another 18. They paid their price. They gave up a lot in order to have that $100 million. So don't go around wishing you were something that you can't be because you won't make the sacrifices. So it's a good time to reflect on all this. We're winding down this year. You know, it's a good time to reflect on what you really want to achieve in 2018. Unless you're really, really, really missing it, there's not probably too many goals that you actually can't achieve. I don't care how big the number, you could probably achieve it if you're willing to give up other stuff to get it. And that's the whole thing. And too many of you are caught in that limbo land of I want, I want, I want, but no, I won't, no, I won't, no, I won't change my priorities. No, I won't, no, I won't, no, I won't change my routines and habits. No, I won't, no, I won't, no, I won't put in that much effort and not get paid for it. Because you're just evaluating the flat part of that exponential curve. You're not thinking about when you get it down there. So it's a good time of year. We got, what's today, the 6th? So we got 25 days until New Year's Eve before it's 2018. Zoe, you're the first one there. I don't think I have anybody in New Zealand. Stephen Moss from New Zealand, but he lives in Australia. So review where you are, review where you want to go. That's the gap. What's it going to take to get there? And maybe what priorities, what things that I put such value on in the short time, which of those do I have to cut back on? Which of those do I have to cut out in order to make 2018 the year I pay the price so I can achieve what I want? So from 2019 onward, I own my life instead of my boss, my company, etc. See, we just spent 2 hours. Did I draw a pitchfork tonight? Did I draw a scan tonight? And yet, I'm going to tell you tonight's message, tonight's effort here, the 2 hours of my life I just spent, is a bigger determinant than anything I could have drawn on the blackboard tonight. And tonight was just the night it had to come out. That's all. So much more important because it's the foundation of how you'll get there. It doesn't matter. I mean, I got technicians left and right. I got technicians who can't trade because their head game ain't right. Zoe, Tim, a couple of them. I got technicians that could run circles around me on the charts. They can't trade a lick because their head game's not right. All right, a lot of you got to roll. I got to roll. Um, it's the weekend coming up. No more sessions for us till next week. So, as always, before I say that, those of you with Goalmaker, if you're part of a couple, remember my strong recommendation, have them watch that with you. And I mean attentively. Make it your Netflix night for 2 nights. It's pretty good stuff. Not just saying that because I did it, but it's pretty good stuff. And I think if you put that level of effort into it, you're going to see 10x, 15x come back to you. Trust me. All right, I will end with that. So, with that, I'll see you next week. I'll see you in Facebook land. Precision traders, I'll see you tomorrow night. And everybody else, have a great weekend. Life can be short, so for those people you care and love, let them know you care and love them. And if it could be 1/10 as much as I love you guys, that's a whole lot of love. Y'all take care.